Hey guys, how's it going? Share my screen. Okay. So today we're going to go over some various different scenarios or test cases. The first one is just setting up a mobile browser, so a mobile browser in an iOS device. And what I'm doing here is it's really a simple test case. What it does is it launches make a connection to this device, and then it would launch the mobile Safari browser, and then it would just go to the Satender website, right? And I just wait for a few seconds there until the page loads, and then I just basically close the application, and I also just close the connection with the server, right? And I'll go over the code as well in a little bit, but again, this is all running in Quantum. Now, this is highly configurable. Again, you can change a lot of the stuff, how it's set up. It's just something that I've done just for our demo purposes. One of the things also you can change is, right now I'm passing in a specific device ID. If you go to the cloud, the Perfecto cloud, let me just close this for a second. Let's go to the lab here. The lab contains all the devices available in your cloud, and what this means is that you can actually pass in a specific device. If you go to the device ID, so this device ID is associated with this specific device right here. Now, I've given a specific ID, but you're more than welcome to actually also provide a specific device model, right? And this is something that's generic. You can also always provide a model number. A model number is something that's just an iPhone, so -6. And then this is something that you could just generically pass in. So it would just randomly select any iPhones on your cloud or a specific device. So I'm going to just quickly demo this piece. So that way you can see it executing on a mobile device on an iPhone 6. Let me just quickly run this. I think Chuck joined. Hey, Chuck. I'm just quickly demoing the web mobile Safari.
Okay.
Let me go to the dashboard here. So this launched the device. Again, we'll go over the code a little later, but this is doing is it's just launching the application, and then it would go to the Satender app the URL, and then it would actually wait for a few minutes just to make sure the page loads, and it would just exit after that. You can see it's loading the Satender app, and it runs really fast, so sometimes it runs fast, sometimes I have to slow it down. That's a good thing. All right, so now close the application, and it's going to generate a report. And we'll go over the report in a second. So just closing the device. Right, it's done, and it generates a URL. This URL is just a report. It's a report URL to the Perfecto enterprise grade reporting solution. This can be viewed in a browser. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the solution here, what Perfecto offers on in terms of, but it's a lot more highly configurable platform for reporting. And this is something also that can be tied directly in Jenkins or Bamboo or any kind of CI server that you guys have set up. So again, this is just the output. Go ahead.
I was going to say that the reporting side of this is going to be very important because when you start running automation at a higher level and when you're starting to get higher levels of coverage as well, if you don't have a good reporting tool, you're not going to be able to quickly and effectively sift through all the results of that automation and get to the fixes. So the reporting side is very, very important, and that's what Raj will show you now.
Yep, thanks. So again, it also shows you a video. So every time you record an execution or write a test case that executes on the Perfecto server, it records every single transaction, right? And it also has a video log that can be viewed later and can be stored later for, I think, 30 to 90 days. It just depends on how this, how you have this, how long you want the video for. And that's one of the good things. And also, it basically gives you every single step executions here. Now, again, this is just one step we have added, but the more steps we add, we can organize them and then basically, just put them together as far as depending on how the requirements are. Another thing also is that now this information icon also shows you a little more information about this, okay? So what I've done is I just gave some sample parameters, and then what it is that one of the main ones are the execution ID that it generates from the server. And some of them is the job name. Again, I just called it the iOS test here. I gave it just a random job number. And then these are something that can be changed or it can be directly linked to your CI server as well. Again, a project name, I just gave it a sample reporting, a project, and I just gave it a regression tag. This all can be changed based on what you're trying to execute and how you have your script set up. Let me go back to anything you want to add, Chuck, to that? Oh.
No.
Okay, and then, I forgot to mention here. Now, there is a little download icon here. This also has, we have a lot of APIs. You can download all these reports. So you can also download the reports on a video. So if you just want the video of this execution, you can actually get a URL. What it does is that the report, we have an API where you can actually return and get a specific URL just to download the video on demand. So you can also add it to your CI server and then just download it on demand. And then it also has a full execution report and assertion report. Again, this is something we can go quickly check this out. Again, this is just really, it's going to be a simple report because for now it's only just going to a browser. It's going to download this PDF. Let's go to this PDF. And again, it just shows you the start time, end time, how long this test case took, and who it is executed by. And this is the Perfecto versioning number here. Also gives you a job name, job number that we just described earlier. And then again, these are just tags, project names, where that just sample gave them as a default value. Platform and device, what kind of device it's executing on, the device ID, and etc. These are just all just high level details here. And also it gives you a step-by-step execution here, right? The first thing is it basically, the step is just telling you that it's just the first step here. And the first step in the command was to go to browser.go to, and this is the URL that we passed, and the browser name was just default to OS, which is Safari. Again, this is the browser ID, and how long this specific task took to execute, which is 7 seconds or 498 milliseconds. Can you just close this PDF? Again, this is really highly configurable. This is something we'll go over, once when you guys start writing a lot more scripts. Now, I'm going to comment this out for a second now, and let me just comment this out. And we'll go to the iOS. So the iOS is basically, now I wrote this script, so what it would do is it would actually launch install the application, which is a Satendra application on the actual device. And then once it's installed, it would launch the application, and then it would just click on a few things. Now, the thing is that with the application, sometimes I'm getting a different kind of pop-up. So we're going to run this, and then on this specific device, and hopefully we don't get a lot more pop-ups here. We'll see see what happens here. Let me just save this really quick. And so now this case is running on a iOS native hybrid application on a specific this device. Let me just comment this out because you don't need to pass in any generic device. Now again, you can always select a random device in the cloud. This is just a way to do that, but something that I'm passing in a specific device here. So let me just run this. Now, the installation of the actual app does take some time. Normally, this is just a standard practice of applications getting installed. So the bigger the file, the longer it takes to install and execute.
So Raj, right now it's just installing the app on the phone. Is that right?
Yeah. So right now it's installing the app. It does take some time, and it's just a standard, procedure. Like I had different clients that had a bigger application that would take longer. So it just depends on this one. It does take a little time. Oh, and by the way, when it's installing, it's basically instrumenting the application at the same time. So what the instrument does is that it allows Perfecto to add their own packages where it would, so that therefore you're able to identify some of these objects easier. As you see, just install the application here, which is a September application. And then when it's done launching the application and doing certain operations, it will also uninstall the application when it's done. And that's just something that's good practice, I would recommend everybody to follow is, when you're done using the application, just go ahead and uninstall it. So as you see, it's launching the application here. And it's gonna allow. It's going to click on skip, which is OMITIR, and then it's going to click on a menu option and then leave the menu option enabled, like just as you see, and it'll just close the application. Because again, it's just doing just a really simple high level, and just enabling the menu, and then it's just going to close the application. Now it's uninstalling the application from the device. I think the uninstall process is a little more faster than the install process.
So just to point out, this is all done through automation that Raj wrote. So this is an example of, you see how this was on a specific phone, on a specific device. And so you'd be able to run the same automated test cases across any number of devices that you need, both mobile and desktop.
Yep.
But this is not Raj clicking on the screen. This is all done through automation. Raj is we're just watching.
And so it generates a report here. So this report I'm going to show, and it does have a little more. So let me open that report. Okay. So this report might be a little more intuitive, right? So what I've done is I've go ahead and gave it a specific value. So as you can see here, it's going to click on this specific pop-up here, which is with this specific thing, and then it's going to click on this button. And again, you can configure this really, however you want. And I give it an assertion. So every time it basically look at the specific thing, give an assert is set up so that if it's failed, it'll automatically flag it as a failure. Again, we know that it also generates the video, so we can also see the video of what it did. And install the application and play here, and then it will just look at verify the test case. Right, and it sometimes if you don't see the last command, it just doesn't mean that is displayed is selected. So anytime you do a is displayed, it basically takes a screenshot. I've done that specifically here. So what this command does is that it does take a screenshot of the app of that specific instance. So I probably didn't take is a display. Oh, I did. Okay, so I probably didn't do a display after I did a click on that object. So I did a click on the specific object and I didn't do this display. But nevertheless, we know it basically enabled this menu. But so we just have to add another is displayed at the end of it, and we'll add that specific thing here. But overall, you can see the video here, and something that you can also remove this command. It's really not needed. I just added it just for demo purposes. It also improves performance by just removing this because it takes 2 to 3 seconds to take a screenshot and save that right on the server. Let's go back here. Again, it gives you the full report, the execution, device information here, and also generates an issue with a full report, assertion report, and a video. I think let's go back to here. So let's go to the third one, which is I just selected an Android device here as well. And the Android device, I'm just doing it actually more simpler. Hold on, let me just make sure I comment with that. Now we can run all 3 of them at the same time. I'm just doing one at a time just to show the executions, and we'll run them all 3 in a second. So this is running in this specific device. Again, it's an Android device. I'm selecting this specific device. I don't think I need this, but I don't think it matters on that one. Let me save it. Let's run. So this is the Android device, and in the Android device, all we're doing is installing the application. It launches the September application, and then just exits. Right. So something really simple stuff.
So Raj, we're going to show this one, and then we're going to show all 3 running at the same time. Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to run all 3 at the same time.
Okay, cool.
So they can see the parallel execution as well. So it installed the application, and now it's going to uninstall the application. Now, the install application process is part of the capabilities. So you might not be able to see that as a step because it's done part of the creation of the driver object. So sometimes and you can explicitly actually install that specific object as well. Yeah. That specific task separate entity, yeah. Go ahead.
For most of our customers, do they, with their own private clouds, do they still install the app and uninstall it at the beginning and end of every test case, or do they have some forms of leave the app on?
No. So normally what the rule of thumb is, you would install the application. And the reason you would install the application is because we had a lot of, well, it just depends, all right? So the reason I would install and uninstall it if there's a set of 100 scripts to execute, because for a fact, again, if it's for one test case, yeah, I wouldn't do that. But if it's for a group of 50 to 100, I would install it, run all those 50 scripts, and then you could just uninstall it, right? Now, right now, I've set it to uninstall after a class, right? So if you could basically add like 50 scripts here, and it will run all those 50 scripts with this one application installed, and then it would uninstall it after it executes all those 50 scripts. So It just depends. And the reason to do that is because I had a lot of different customers that would install. They would basically select a device, and the device would never have the right application because somebody else installed another version of the application. And they would check the version today, and it would work, and they would come tomorrow and check it, and it wouldn't work. and they would have no idea if it's a version problem, and they would say, hey, this was working yesterday and it's not working today. It's something to do an issue with, something else like Perfecto. And if you look at the problem, it's a different version of the application. So it's always best to uninstall it when you're done with it, and then so you keep it clean there. So when you want to work on a device, you install it and then do your thing with that specific version number. It's really important. And then nowadays, what happens is with the CI process, this can be done as a nightly batch. You don't have to go in there and install this manually. So this can be done in a CI job that runs every night, and we go pull the latest IPA, or whenever the builds get pushed to the automation team, they can actually upload these IPAs directly with an API calls into Perfecto repository, and we can actually go and install these applications directly from when they have built a release, and automatically trigger for that application to be installed on all the devices at the same time. So that's something we can set up. I can quickly show you from a high level. I don't have anything set up on that, but let's get this one done, and then we can go that one. Show you guys.
Yeah, and I would show, I think in the name of time, we should maybe show all three running side by side. And then have you gone over web yet?
Yeah, so the web I've done is the mobile web.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to do the desktop web, but it's the same driver, which is the remote web driver here. And all it's doing is it's just pointing it to our server, and I just didn't get the time to get that completed, but this is something that it will be the same code for this one, but all it is that it's pointing to the Perfecto desktop server. So I quickly go and show you guys that setup as well, but I haven't got a chance to fully just quickly automate it. Then just tied up with other stuff. So let's just run all three of them right now. Right. So now this is running all three, right? And I'll need to set the thread count. The thread count can be set to 3. So what it's going to do is it's going to run all three of them at the same time.
So ISBAN, when you get to a point when you're running higher levels of automation, it's really important to be able to do it in parallel, because you're going to be saving a lot of time. So Raj is going to run this exact same test case over 3 devices, but you could do this with 20 different devices with a whole suite of test cases, and it could be mobile devices as well as desktop browsers. So you're going to be able to run all your automation, and it's going to run at the exact same time. So instead of where we call it in serial, where you have the test case run on one setup and then it moves to the next setup and then the next setup, this is running all of them at the same time across all mobile devices as well as desktop browsers.
Thanks. I just have to change the name here because I have all my names the same. It's saying can't have the same names. Let me save this guy. Oh, here this time. There you go. Thanks. Yep. It just did all 3 devices.
So again, these are real devices. So ISBAN, in your world, this would be the different phones that you have sitting in our data center in Guadalajara that you're able to access and have this automation running. So these aren't simulators or emulators. These are real physical devices that are plugged in at that data center. So you can see the script is going to be running across all 3 of these at the exact same time. And if you also had the desktop side, you would see the desktop browsers up here as well, running the same automation. It looks like these devices are out of our Boston data center. So you'll see the ones in Guadalajara, and then you would also have them, accessible by your Mexican cellular networks, so Telcel or AT&T. They could be enabled on the devices, because it's going to be, when you get more advanced, you're going to be testing not only simple test cases like this, but also real end user conditions. So you're going to want to know that you have some devices that are on an AT&T network, so you can recreate certain network conditions that your customers are experiencing. You could have throttled network conditions like a 3G signal versus 4G. You're going to be able to test all those different scenarios because it's a real device with a cellular network, with a cellular carrier on it. So it's really going to help you in the long term, year or two down the road, as you get more and more advanced.
Great. So now it's just on installing the app. So parallel execution is something that is really important. You know, just like Chuck mentioned, it's something that can distribute the load across the scripts. So the more devices you have, the more faster it executes. So it all depends on how quickly you would like a turnaround. One of the reasons is we had a customer that wanted everything to run, and you know, they had over 1,000 scripts, and they want everything to run within an hour, because that's the feedback they wanted to give their developers. So we had to basically, you know, do a scoping call to understand, you know, how many devices they would need in order for them to distribute the load across, you know, all these different, you know, scripts, and you know, and then, so that's something that's really important to understand, is that, you know, you can run it faster, but it's just the more devices you add, and depending on what turnaround time you're looking for as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And again, it just generated 3 different reports here, 1 here, 2 here, and then the third one is right here. I think you guys already seen the reports, so I'm not going to go over them. And hopefully I wasn't speaking too fast, and you as well, Chuck. But if there's anything I could help with, you know, after this POC, and, you know, any specific technical questions, I'm more than happy to jump on a call with Chuck and whoever to help out answer any questions. And I'll quickly go over the web solution as well. I don't have this automated, but just didn't have the time. But the web solution is the same. It's the same procedure here. Okay. So I've had it set up, but I just didn't have the time here. But the same procedure. It uses the same remote driver. Nothing's changed. The only thing is that on the capability section, we're just passing in these parameters. So this is the web, right? So this is the OS. So I'm going to select a Windows. I'm going to select a specific version here. Chrome, and I'll just pick browser version. And this can be set up in the capabilities. So a specific capability that you guys are looking for can be set up, along with the resolution and then location as well. We'll just pick US for now. Again, if you're using Java, you can actually just copy this right here. And that's what I've done, is basically already created the capabilities for you. And this is all you need in your capabilities. You don't pass in a device ID like we're doing here. We just pass in this information. And then the only thing that's a little change is the URL that you hit. So I'll show you really quick. The only URL that would change in the driver would be, okay, I think I have it set up here. So this is just a sample here. And the only thing that will change is this URL that you're hitting from the desktop versus the mobile. And then that would just be fast, and then the other ones won't have the fast. This one doesn't have the fast. This one is for this remote web driver, and that's why it takes a device. So I haven't got a chance to complete this, but again, it's the same thing. The only thing that's different is that you just pass in this, and I just copied pretty much this, right, and then just pasted it here. I think I had some different parameters before, and that's pretty much it. And what it would do is, let me open this really quick, okay? And it would basically, and it's a little slower, but it definitely takes, and something that you guys want to keep in mind is that if you have to do this locally on your environment, you'll have to have a hardware set up, right? You need to have virtual machines set up. You'll need to have the specific application, which is Chrome, installed on those virtual machines. That specific version of the Chrome installed on the virtual machines to test out your code. In Perfecto, it's all set up, you know, and you don't really have to have a hardware to do this. You don't need to have, configuration problems. You don't need to have, different virtual machines with different, Chrome browsers installed or Safari browsers. You can always go to any of these versions that we offer, and then just automatically just pull it in the cloud and execute it. As you see here, it opened a device, a Windows 10 and a Chrome version 71. And now we can run all our automation scripts on this as well. So it can launch the Satendra application here, and then do whatever the desktop a person would do, simulate or automate in our case. And again, we have different flavors that you can also add to your package. Now this is just a web. You can also add a Mac. So a Mac would contain a Safari browser, right? Or depending, this is the OS version. So depending on OS version we support. And then browser would be also, we do have Chrome, Firefox, and Safari in this. Mac is always Safari. And then so it has a browser version here. This is the resolution you can select, and and basically just add this data to your capabilities, and it will automatically create this specific VM, and it would run all your scripts on. So anything you test locally that you're trying to run on your desktop browser, it mimics the same thing here. It's all it is in the local versus here is you're just running it on the server, and it's always going to be exactly on that specific version. So even it cuts a lot of the maintenance from the automation folks that needs to set up this stuff locally for development purposes too. Right? This is all done in the cloud. And they can check the objects in any version they have locally, but as far as execution, they can execute this directly on Perfecto and not worry about hardware, and then all that stuff that you set up, even depending on the company and how things are set up there as well.
So, excuse me, ISBAN, you have access to 3,000 different version, operating system types of setups. So you would have access to any sort of desktop setup you would need. And then what's really unique about our desktop product is that the script writing piece. So you saw where Raj had written some of those scripts within the mobile side that helped to write automation. I know you don't have people that are writing automation yet. So on our desktop side, we have codeless automation. And so there's some information in our proposal about codeless automation, but it's going to be very, very easy for you to write. I'm not a very technical person myself. But what codeless allows you to do is go on and record what you're doing on a website and translate it into a Selenium script. So as you enter something into the browser, as you click on different objects on the screen, it's going to record that and turn that into your automation script. So you don't have to have someone that's an expert at writing automation. You can have any of your manual testers start learning automation through our codeless solution. So then you're going to be able to create scripts by clicking around on the screen, running the different flows that you want to run, and that's going to add it to your group of test cases. So you're going to be able to create large regression suites or smoke suites just by using our codeless solution. And that's something that's very, very unique in the market, and it will help you get going much quicker. And if you'd like, we can come and show you codeless at a later date, whenever that works for you. And there's also some things in our proposal about codeless as well.
Great. And one thing I wanted to show everybody as well is you can go to developer.perfectomobile.com and just type in codeless. And what it does is that again, this is just a documentation of getting started. You're more than welcome to go here and read, some of the getting started, what kind of plugins you would need, how would you access the lab here, and it would just basically add something like the codeless automation here. And it gives you a little more insight of what you're trying to do, and but again, something that just to look at and read if you guys need anything to read in the meanwhile. I think I'm done from my side. And again, from my side would be, thanks for the opportunity to present you guys Perfecto, and I hope you guys consider looking at all the information that we have, and the stuff that we do is something that's cutting edge. And I'm sure Chuck will comment a little more on that.
Yeah, and just want to say again, thank you, ISBAN, and thank you, our partners, Anzen, that are in the room with you. We've got a great story going with Santander and the work we've been able to do with them. And one thing that's really important about how Perfecto has been helping Santander is that we've got this great platform to help you, but we also have people like Raj and like myself that stay very, very involved because we want to make sure that you're successful. If you want to get to high levels of automation, if you want to move faster, we don't just give you access to this great tool. We also help support you and make sure that we help get there. So we look forward to working with you. Thank you again for all the time. If there's any questions, please follow up with Jose Luis, and he'll be in contact with me. And thank you again. I think that's it from us.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Thanks, guys.